Welcome everyone to the Afropolitan Podcast, as we love to say, because the brand new is unthinkable, we fight over the old. At Afropolitan, we are building the future of a progressive Black community. On the show today, we have with us my brother, my friend, mentor. I don't even know how to describe it, but this guy right here is probably responsible for almost everything Afropolitan, and I'm not even joking. Welcome to the podcast, Iyinoluwa Aboyeji.
Thank you, Eche.
Yeah,
Thank you,
fun
Eche.
now.
My bro, I just did. Is this your wash shisha? I just know you're about to collect money from me after this one now. So let me arrange.
No. I've already collected enough. But we'll make it together now. We'll make it together now. No
that
problem.
thinking. Yeah,
Win and help win. That's what we want to do
Exactly.
now. First of all, let's talk about where you were born and the transition from where you were born into becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Was that what you wanted to be when you were first?
That's an interesting question.
When you were a kid.
Yeah, I mean, no, actually. You know, when I was a kid, I grew up in Abacha, right? So,
Abacha's regime.
I grew up, I was born in 91. And then basically I came of age in the Abacha regime. My father was arrested. Not even for freedom fighting. He was just he refused to participate in stealing from the country.
Yeah.
And then because of that, people locked him up in jail.
Yeah.
And then before that...
Was he a pastor then too? Or?
He was always a pastor. So my father was one of the 70 people who started Oyedepo's church. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So he's always been in the church stuff for a long time. But at that time, you know, we my father was a taxi driver for a while. Then my mom used to trade fish.
And where was this?
This was
city-wise, where were you born?
Oh, yeah. No. So we lived in Bariga, Shomolu, Community Road, Bajulaye, that part of town.
On the streets.
We're on the streets. So, that was my background. And then I watched my father rise. So my father went from taxi driver, got his MBA at Unilag, went to Sterling. At the time, it used to be called Now Merchant Bank.
Okay.
Then from Now, got a job at Shell. Then from Shell, he stayed at Shell till he retired. But I watched my dad kind of rise through the ranks. And then at the time, I also changed my taste with my father's rise. How do I put it, right? So when my father was a taxi driver, I was like, I wanted to be a taxi driver or a policeman. And the joke was, I wanted to be that because those are the only people I saw my father give money. People give him money as a taxi driver. Yeah. And then he gives police money. So that was the exchange.
That was the transaction.
As I understood it. So I was like, I want money. So this is how it works. Then, when my father got into Shell, he used to preach about the sciences. I wanted to become an engineer. But by the time I got into secondary school, I went to Loyola, which was, one of the things my father did for us was he just over-indexed on education.
Yeah.
He sold everything to make sure we went to the best schools in Lagos, despite the fact that we were really above our pay grade. So when I went to Loyola, I realized sciences weren't really for me, even though my dad really loved it. And
what did he want you to be?
He just wanted me to be like somebody who could come back and work in oil and gas. That was really
that
for it. It was like engineers get paid, the rest of us buggers don't.
NNPC somewhere, somehow.
You know what I mean? So just enter this industry. So, that was my father's point of view. But anyway, I got, I wanted to be a nano engineer. That was my own understanding. Okay. I tried to do the sciences. I did okay, but not crazy well. And I really, really loved law. So then I started studying law. Yeah. But then when it was time to go to university again, my father got some science courses in and everything, and it was just a confusing time. So I never really had anything. But by the time I had settled into university, I knew I was going to become a competition lawyer. That was my
competition lawyer.
Yeah, that was
like antitrust.
Antitrust.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Canada, we call it competition law. So I'd reading the best paper on competition law that my department had ever seen. I went to University of Waterloo. Yeah. And my paper is still, I got a 97. So I was a lawyer. That was my job.
You were ready.
I was ready. What
shifted? Because I'm going to tell you what shifted me. Because you're also responsible for shifting me. In case, for posterity's sake, my mom, my dad, the person responsible was he. But please go. What shifted you?
We're still giving you in law. We're still giving you law work. You're not blame us too much. No, I think for me, what shifted me was I had a friend called Pierre Aris. Amazing guy. Still one of my very good friends. And he was an engineer and he went to work in Silicon Valley. So at the time, I mean, I got into university in 2009. By 2010, 2008 actually, 2010 was when he came back from Silicon Valley. We met up and we started talking about tech. And he really taught me, like, this is how tech works. This is what it means. This is how it works. And then we watched Social Network. I remember watching Social Network in November of 2010. And that was the movie that changed my life. Because I was like, man, I think everybody saw Mean Mark Zuckerberg. I saw, I saw a bullied kid, which was very much my experience, who basically like became this
take over the world,
despite the fact that nobody was expecting him to. And I thought I could do that for myself. So I'm always like mentally an underdog, right? That's my mindset. So we started a company together. In 2010, funded by.
What was it called?
It was called Booknedo.
Booknedo, okay.
Yeah. My first angel investor was an interesting one. Yeah.
What did the
Booknedo do? So Booknedo was, it evolved a lot. So we started out trying to displace Blackboard at the time. Blackboard was horrible.
Oh my God.
Horrible learning management system software.
Who built this software?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Is that Oracle?
No, it wasn't Oracle. It was its own company. It's actually a public company, Blackboard. It's a public company. So it was just like education, learning management software. We thought we could build something better. Unfortunately for us, we're still in school. We should have known better, but we're still in school. We thought we could actually do something. And then we tried to do that. But unfortunately, there was another company called D2L that was really coming up by another grad. And those guys actually got the whole thing right.
Who was your angel investor?
So, funny story. He's late now, unfortunately, but the Olu of Ori gave me my first angel. The Olu of Ori at the time, Atuashi II. He gave me my first angel investment check in Nigeria.
How much is it?
It was $10,000. Wow. Okay. Which at the time was a lot.
Significant, very significant. Even now,
and he never asked for equity. It's just weird.
What?
Just like,
I'm supporting your business.
Yeah, it's just like I told him I wanted to build this thing. I'm sure my dad was like, hush, we need money for school fees.
Focus.
Yeah, I took the check. I remember it was a very Wachovia. I took it to the bank. It was really nice. I'm always very thankful to him for that.
That's good.
And that was the money we used to start booknedo.com.
And then what happened? You said unfortunately it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't work out. For a lot of reasons. So we started out in that LMS configuration. Then we now obviously that didn't work out because the school wasn't going to give $500,000 contract to some kids. So like, the next,
you guys are supposed to be paying us to educate
yeah,
here.
exactly.
We're not educating you for us to come pay you.
Exactly.
That's how it's gonna work. That's how it works.
So we now evolved it to become a platform for past questions. So people who wanted to get past question papers would like go to our website and they could download the past questions and pay for a pass. We did okay there. But then what happened in Waterloo, the university professors actually own all the content. So they threatened to sue us. So we now had to stop doing that as a result of the settlement. But then the smart thing we did was we went to the professors and said, okay, you told us to stop doing this stuff. What can we do for you? So one of them took us in and was like, okay, I need to build what you've built, but not for schools this time, but for my students who are outside of school. Because I don't always want people to have to come in and enroll at Waterloo to learn about what I have to say. And that time was very early for Udemy.
So the professors were fine with decentralizing themselves.
Yes.
But for you guys to do it, we did this was like, no, relax.
Yeah, exactly, relax. Basically. So that was how we partnered up with this. His name was Professor Andrew. Partnered up with him. Yeah. And then eventually that's how we got sold. So we sold for peanuts to this guy. Yeah. And I paid my investors, took my L's and flew back. Because one thing I learned from the whole experience is I cannot solve Canada's problems. It's not what's the effort? I cannot be solving Canada's problems. I have real problems in Nigeria.
And in Africa as a whole. So then what was that transition to Andela? How did you come to meet the Andela founders as well?
That was an interesting. So after booknedo.com, what basically happened was I moved back to Nigeria. I was in Abuja. What I wanted to do was build like a clearinghouse for courses. So because Nigerian universities had this problem where if you did not have a lecturer in your field of study, you couldn't take the course. So, for example, if you wanted to learn JavaScript and there was no JavaScript lecturer in your school, you couldn't take JavaScript.
Yeah.
You just had to stick with whatever they had. And a lot of schools can't afford to have lecturers in every subject.
Yeah.
So, what we were trying to do at the time was like, okay, look, if there's a JavaScript lecturer in Bell's University and there's none in Covenant, can Covenant University students take the Bell University course or get credit from Covenant University?
Yeah.
That didn't go down well with the regulator for any number of reasons. I don't understand.
The education regulator.
NUC, NUC. So I was in NUC office every day talking to this guy. He didn't listen to us. So we had to pivot to now think, okay, what are the existing online university environments that already exist? And we saw there were a lot of online courses and so on. So we started selling those online courses to people. The place where we saw a lot of traction was in the MBA, online MBA courses. So we started selling University of Liverpool courses, primarily to bank workers that wanted to get promotions. And then we started offering credits for it.
What about credits?
No, like we would take salary credits.
Okay.
So if you wanted it, we'll give it to you. And you pay your school fees. We get 20% of that. Then we'd offer you credits so that you could pay.
You guys were doing Lambda before Lambda.
Doing Lambda before Lambda,
Hey,
bro.
God.
The Lambda, original Lambda. It's just our own was not ISA. Our own was roping you into the bank.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
HR loved us. You know, we did okay. But then I went for this conference with a guy I work with now called Ladi Delano, and he was talking about unemployment. And then before then, and that was at MIT. And then before then, there was a very, very tragic incident that happened where the Nigerian Immigration Service was doing a test, and like 60,000 people gathered in stadiums
For the jobs, right?
for the jobs, and then they got killed in a stampede.
Yeah, stampede.
So
I remember.
I just knew the unemployment problem was crazy. So I think what happened was when I went to New York, because I was in New York for like a program, you know, one of our investors told us to come to New York for a program.
Yeah.
So while I was there, you know, I was trying to reach out to people and tell them about this new business we had to see if they would fund us. One of the people I reached out to repeatedly was Jeremy, because I'd met Jeremy when I was coming back to Nigeria to do Fora, and he had lent some support. We had talked, but I'd never seen him. I'd never interacted with him for a while. So I reached out to him, emailed him, everything. Jeremy said, okay, you know, we had at Fresh and Co. We had a dinner meeting, and that was when we now started talking about all the unemployment challenges, everything. And he like broke down for me why what I was trying to build at that time wouldn't work. And he was right? It was just like margins were too thin. It's not a big market, etc. And his own theory was basically that in Africa, because of the cost of education, which can't really be shirked, right? You would have to innovate a model that allowed people to see the value of those skills and not just charge them for it up front. Because in the US, it only works because there's an accepted value of education and minimum wage to guarantee that, and then student loans. So that combination makes it
The whole
attractive.
ecosystem,
But in Africa, you don't have any of those things. So really, if your
people are
education is
taking
not,
bets,
they're just taking
and
bets,
they don't know
and they don't know what's going to
for,
happen. So that's why people here would die on the altar of free education, right? Because if I paid 25,000 naira for my education, it's okay with the government if I don't get a job. But if people were paying student loans here, oh boy,
and then graduating with no jobs.
I
need a job after.
I would have seen
I must enter Mercedes Benz.
Exactly. So, at the end of the day, so it was not. His whole point was, look, there are all these jobs outside of Nigeria, not tied to Nigeria's economic circumstances, that somebody could take if they had the training. And if you have so many people unemployed, they can learn anything. Like you have to believe some of them can learn anything.
Yeah, of course.
So that was his theory, and I was like, dude, man. This guy, you know, when I was meeting, I didn't even know this at the time, but he had just IPO'd this company. And then it was his birthday this week. To you,
okay.
Yeah, so his previous company had just IPO'd. Okay. So, I mean, I was really reaching out to him at the wrongest time. So it was just like divine providence that he even answered me, because I mailed him a lot of times. And actually, I was supposed to have already gone home, but I kept holding out some hope that he would respond. And because of that, I just like extended my trip. And then the last day, I was about to be like,
it's okay.
This guy is okay. Let me just go. The guy literally replies me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll show up. So anyway, him giving me this advice was just like amazing. And then the next thing he just did was he was like, look, we can try it out. I'll be chairman and you can run the company as CEO and we can figure out whether it works. And I was like, yeah, look, like you're a billionaire. You're telling me.
So the first initial checks for that though, how did that go?
Yeah, so basically like he funded it. He funded it, I funded it. Because we had like 60K. Because we just raised some money. So we used some of that money to like kick things off. Then he doubled down and funded it before we were able to go raise.
But then making that transition and going back to like family, right?
Yeah.
You were supposed to be a lawyer, right?
Supposed to be a lawyer, man.
And then now you're coming back to Nigeria saying, hey, I'm doing... First, you left Nigeria with Fora.
Yeah.
Now you're coming back with Andela.
Yeah.
What's the conversation like from a family perspective? Like,
Bro, it was rough.
It's like, is your life shaky? What's going on? Are the
No.
village
So
people
it was very
winning?
rough because my father's very, very good boss was a guy called Tony Atta, who, if you're listening, I mean, he's an amazing guy in the oil and gas industry. And he runs NLNG, right? And then, my dad's, I would say, like, closest thing to, like, a best friend used to run Nigeria Gas Company. And I was actually staying in his house in Abuja. So, like, we were oil and gas rooted. Like, it was more like, dude, this is a generational thing. I got it. I knew about the baton to you. Do you know how? And it was going to be very easy if I wanted to do that. So, and these guys were telling me to come for an interview. And I wasn't even responding, making effort.
Your time.
So my father was very annoyed, understandably so. Like, when I think back, I'm like, man, you were really a fool. Because the guy was pissed. He was like, dude, people would die for this job, and you're just throwing it away. And this thing you want to do, I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense.
And train people.
Let's go and train people. I don't understand what you're doing. So you get it. So anyway, my pops wasn't having it. So, I mean, naturally, he was just like, look, man, go figure out your life and come back to me when you know what you want to do. But you can't be living in my house and chopping my food. Because I'm not going to...
no direction.
I can't be harboring. I can't be harboring never do well. So you're your own. So I had to go to Lagos with 40,000 naira in my pockets from Warri. I swear to God. Went to Lagos and just like, I was poor. When I say poor, I was poor.
Where did you stay in Lagos?
So... Okay, this is the thing, right? My mother was very, very wise. So what she did was she told the agent.
Wait, what agent?
Like the house's agent. We had a house. My father actually ended up building a house in Akoka, in Bariga area. So she told the agent, look, he has this house, like save it, but don't tell them who is going to stay there. My father eventually found out, but like the way I was able to get it was by paying. I had to pay my father rent.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that was the only way I was trying to stay in Lagos. And my mom pitched some, and then when my father found out, he was like, okay, you don't have to pay that. But yeah, basically, I paid rent. I paid rent in Lagos. 3-bedroom. I was in the same room with Bankole Oluwafemi and another guy, Ekene. Ekene was a designer, very big designer at Udezwe, Kene Udezwe. And he was a big designer at CC Hub. So we all lived together, actually.
Do you think that there's something about that initial startup journey where whether it's even being in the garage together, or in the apartment together, that it just builds a bond that is just unbreakable?
No, it was just amazing. And it wasn't just that, it was also CC Hub. So one of the things that Bosun did from when I came back to Lagos, Bosun gave me free membership at CC Hub. So I would walk from Bariga, Paco bus stop, for those who know the place, all the way to CC Hub, which was in like, basically like in Sabo. So it was like a 20-25 minute walk every day. And I had slippers.
Streets, literally.
Bro, I was on the
streets. Literally.
I was on the streets. I know those streets well. You cannot lose me there. So, I mean, being with founders every day was my... If I didn't have that environment, I swear to God, I committed suicide. Because it was like... At this point, I was just like a failure.
Like, what's going on?
Like, what's going on? So I would just be there. We'll be arguing about tech. And even though we weren't making any progress, we were shot there. And I met a lot of people there. Larry Oyedotu. I met a lot of the early people in tech. Timi Fasuba. Like, so many people I met there for the first time. So that community, we wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for that.
So I want to transition to talk about what your role was in Afropolitan. Right? So I think okay, let's talk about how we met. So on Twitter, you're in Nigeria.
Yes.
So you're in the US.
Yeah, I'm in the US, yes.
And then you messaged me about coming to Nigeria Independence.
Yes.
And then you come through. It was a great event.
Yeah, it
but
was good.
I would say up until that point, I was just used to just parties. That's
Parties
what.
and move.
There's no problem. Going back to school. And I'm supposed to be a lawyer too.
Yeah.
That's the way they put my parties very clear. There's no other way. So then, after that weekend of the party, next weekend, I think we were supposed to go hiking.
Yes. I very used to go hiking with me.
We go hiking. It was me, you Tonya.
Yes.
Tonya came.
Yes. And Walter.
Walter as well. We went up to that mountain. You know how Moses, right? When Moses went up to the burning bush, I came back down a changed man. That was my experience. So 4 hours of hiking, and it was like the conversation. It wasn't that he and Walter weren't talking to me and Tonya. They were just talking between themselves. Yeah. But it was almost like you get to eavesdrop on what people are talking about. And when
I think we're building Flutterwave's model on the mountain.
And then by the time they came down, I was just like, what have I been doing with my life? Like, because to me, it was by the time I came down, I said to myself, like, I'm glad that this happened. I feel like I almost even threw myself at you guys. I was like, look, just
tell me what to do.
My life is hanging the balance. Please help me. But I think from there, like, there was this sense of purpose as to what we're looking to achieve and build with Afropolitan. And I want to credit you a lot for that, because you don't understand what that did for me. Because up until that point, it felt like my life was set for me. But I also knew that cruise control life is not the type of life I want to live. I was not going to be happy. And because of that, it then allowed me to then go back to my parents and say, hey, this law thing, go work. Like, I can do law, but I cannot represent the founders.
Yes.
When I feel like I'm a founder. It won't make sense now. It won't make any sense. So to me, I want to credit you for that. But in then going around that, what are some of the challenges you've found with mentoring founders in this ecosystem?
Yeah, man.
Especially, let's talk about Future Africa, what Future Africa is first.
Exactly.
And then dive into that question.
So, I mean, my own story was, I got lucky, Andela was a hit.
Is it really luck? There's some luck. There's some luck.
Man, it was a little bit. Man, dude, so many things if they didn't happen, there'll be no Andela. Like, even down to seeing Jeremy on that trip, right? Like, if I didn't meet Jeremy on that trip, I'll still be selling MBAs. Difference. You know what I mean? Just like one day difference of not like... I'll still be selling MBAs. I'll be dissing them.
Nothing wrong with people who sell MBAs, by the way. They are doing God's work.
It's like, but that was basically it. I was selling MBAs.
Yeah.
But I mean, the beautiful thing about everything was God just ordered our steps.
Yeah.
But Andela, then I got Flutterwave, and Walter was super instrumental. Walter basically built the model with me, did everything. So, I realized, okay, look, and then when I left Flutterwave, it was kind of like drift. I was in like a drift. I was like, Flutterwave was so hard. I was like, am I gonna, I build another company?
After Flutterwave, did you feel, because at that point, it felt like you were a serial entrepreneur, but I don't think coming into Andela,
I didn't clock
entrepreneur.
I didn't clock
So what was that shift when you realized you actually don't need to be super attached to one company? That it's like a baby. You can always have another baby or go into become the grandparents. Which is what VCs really are, right?
Yeah,
so that shift, because you didn't go for an MBA. You didn't have any business background. No. So I'm guessing it was probably through books, mentorship.
Watching people do it, mentorship,
the whole shebang.
Everything, yeah.
So then, in that transition from after Flutterwave, and you're saying that there was a drift, what you were thinking company, how did you settle on Future Africa?
It was a process. So I think the first thing was I left Flutterwave. I'd gotten involved in politics a little bit. So I had a very experience. And so for me, at first my thought was, look, this country is gone. Like, everything you guys are seeing now, I saw it in 2019. So I was like, at this point, I was like, well, you guys don't even know what's coming, man. Because I know what I saw.
Yeah.
So I was just like, we'll see, man. And I moved, as you know, I moved to Napa.
Yeah.
I was just sitting on my farm.
Wineries,
brunches. Just chilling. And I was like, I'm done, right?
Yeah.
I completed this thing. I'm giving them to... Yeah. I mean, they didn't know it was billion-dollar companies, but it was unicorns.
I started giving them something.
So I'm good. I just go chill.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was just like, Yeah, and I actually even tried to get a job in VC in the US because I figured that was what a post-Africa life would look like. And man, I think the question I asked myself was just at one day was just like, do you think you can be great here? And what was going through my mind was, I just got in a really nice payout from Andela. I put it in my bank account, and my bank account was shut immediately.
Remember we had that conversation. Yeah.
I was
like, this fucking bank.
Yeah, it was crazy. So they just shut down my bank account. And for the first time, I became aware of myself as a black man. I was like, I'd never been aware of myself as a black man in America.
Problems.
Because I was always on O1. Even if I had problems at the immigration, they'll see my O1 visa. They'll be like, I can't fuck with this guy because, it's this guy, But for the first time, I was just like, and people were like running around themselves to like get me out of the situation. There was no one to call. And I was in a rough financial situation because my child was just born. So you can imagine, like, I have no money. Yeah. I actually have money.
You have money, but you don't have access to your money. Yeah.
And like my child needs milk. So I've never been that confused in my life. So that was the day I now was like, man, are you sure this is what greatness means for me?
Napa is beautiful, but
so that day,
how many wine you want to drink?
How much wine? And I'd already done all the wine. I think we used to go there every weekend or something. So after a while, I was just like, man, I have to come back. As much as I was running away, I felt like Jonah in the belly of the fish, right? It's like, I can't get a break there, so might as well come back here and fight the good fight. Now, the question now was, how do you gain leverage doing that, right? Because the worst thing you can do is go and be like a pawn in somebody else's larger game, right?
Yeah.
You got to actually be master of your own game. So for me, it was, okay, I've done two. I have some credibility with all these guys. I actually funded a couple that actually ended up doing really well because I worked like super hard for folks like 54G and Kobo 360. So I knew I had the raw skill to do this. So my first thought was, let me go raise a fund.
Yeah.
So I actually went and spoke to people like a human being and like, okay, raise a fund. And all of them said the same thing. They were like, you need to hire a finance guy, an investment partner. So I was like, okay, that doesn't sound like crazy. Let me go and talk to an investment partner. The first guy I spoke to was like, yeah, dude, you're not going to pay me well. So let's just cut to the chase. I'll do it part-time. I went to the guys, like, okay, part-time? They're like, no, it has to be a full-time person. And don't worry about pay. So the second guy I went to, I was like, no, don't worry about pay. I'll pay you. The guy tells me, oh, it'll only work if it's 50%.
50% of the fund?
Of the fund. And I was like, okay, fine. But you're going to bring 50% of the money, right? Yeah. No.
That's why you got to bring the money.
I was like, look, man, I get it. I understand. So that day, I just stopped talking to everybody.
Just be like, what's this investment thing? Let's go to school. School is even still open. We can still enter it. There's no problem.
So I just got this. I got a lot of very arrogant, snotty responses. And I was just like, man, like, I know I'm not the shit, but I've done a lot. I've earned my respect.
There's work that has been shown.
I've earned my respect. So I was just like, dude, man, I'm just going to do it myself. Yeah. Now, my idea of doing it myself came because I hired this principal, Denike, her, Mayowa. Like, I built a team of local Nigerians that all of whom were not really the kind of people who people would expect to do this type of business. Yeah. For me, I was just like, at that point, I was very unsure of myself, but I was just like, let's try it. So we put out this deal called Tambua that I really, really wanted to do. They do like...
I know Tambua.
Sensor technology. Exactly. So that was basically what these guys, the first deal I put out. And bro, in 3 days, the shit was oversubscribed. Yeah. I was like, we're onto something here. The day I knew that we had hit goals was the day we put up a deal called Smile Identity. And in $100,000 went in 3 minutes. Like, people gave me $100,000 in 3 minutes. I was getting calls, like my phone was like, Easy always jokes, like I was Investor Center. I was like, picking calls. So I just knew it was something. So basically, the idea with the Future Africa platform is very simple. A lot of people want to be investors. For good reason, right? Yeah. You've seen Google, you've seen Tesla. Yeah. You're like, I wish I was there at the beginning. Yeah. But the problem is, getting into investing in Google or Tesla is very hard.
Yeah, you don't even have the connection.
You don't have the connection to even be in the room when these conversations are being had.
You're not there. You're not there,
right? They go pitch venture capital and all that. Yeah. Now, so what I decided to do was like, look, if people want to be investors and companies are looking for money, you can basically match,
facilitate
between the investors and the startups and take a 20% of the upside, just like a VC.
Yeah.
Because that's really what VCs do. Like VCs get money from limited partners who are typically large institutions who aggregate pension funds, 401ks and all that.
Yeah.
And that's literally how the money trickles down.
Yeah.
So I was just like, cut through all the BS, go straight to the money, which is me and you, surprisingly, and then make the match.
Yeah.
So we built a platform that's really simple. You pay $1,000 a year. We email you deals every other week. We give you an opportunity to see that the company is legit. We tell you about the company from our point of view, not from the company's point of view. And we and then you have a Sunday night chat with the founder. And then after that, 6 p.m. the next day, you commit your money.
Yeah.
You wire it, and you're an investor in a brand new spanking startup. And people have been doing that with us for the last year. It's almost a year now.
Yeah.
We have over 250 members. We've deployed $5 million this way. We continue to ramp up. It's like pretty amazing.
Now that you're doing this,
Yeah.
do you feel, first of all, do you have more joy doing this?
Yeah.
You look forward to waking up every day.
This is exciting because I think for the first time, when I left Flutterwave, after I saw what happened in elections, for a long time I was toying with this idea. I was toying with this idea of building a DFI, and everyone just looked at me like I was crazy.
What's a DFI?
A DFI is a development finance institution. Like the IFC is a DFI, CDC is a DFI, the World Bank is a DFI. So I was like, I want to build a development finance institution, but everyone was looking at me like, how would you?
Where would you start?
Where would you start? Like if you wanted to build the World Bank, where would you start? And I think this business is actually ultimately going to lead me there. And there's a world where, that I imagine in my head, we have 1 million subscribers. You know, we're deploying $5 billion a year to like all of Africa's biggest problems. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And like encouraging founders who are dealing with these problems by giving them the capital they need to scale and grow. Yeah. And that's freedom, right?
Gives you more leverage across the board. So in terms of that, so let's even transition. What then got you into the crypto space? Because you felt like maybe before you were skeptical about it.
I was very skeptical.
What now convinced you that, okay, this might be the future?
NSAS.
NSAS, okay.
It was NSAS. So I was like, I just, keep in mind, I was CEO, I was a founder of Flutterwave. Flutterwave was helping people raise money at great risk to its own, business. And, I was feeling a lot of that heat. I'm sure GB felt it even more than I did.
Of course.
And like, it was very much a question of, and we didn't even know about it. We were just trying to do our small bit to be good civic citizens. And, we got all that hit. And I was like, but this was a good thing, right? Like, and I was like, well, in the future, if people like us, because we're regulated, can't do this type of thing, how is this going to happen? And then all of a sudden,
it's crypto.
I just see feminist coalition set up this Bitcoin thing, and I was that was the moment that convinced me that this thing is going nowhere.
Yeah, this is the future. So then, in your opinion, right? So let's talk about Uber disrupts taxis, Airbnb disrupts hotels, cryptos similarly disrupting potentially like the USD.
Yeah.
What role do you then see decentralization playing in this on the African continent?
So it's our default. That's the thing, right? Like if you think about the most successful ecosystems in this country, they roll through multiple coordinated actions of decentralized players. So for example, and we don't think about this a lot, but you think about Okeari or you think about Idumota, right? Like the value chains that drive commerce in those places.
And these are marketplaces for the listeners.
Marketplaces, right? These are markets, big markets in Nigeria. They're like decentralized. You're dealing with, Ogoluwa, you're dealing with this, you're dealing with that. You know what I mean? Like you're dealing with all these small traders or seemingly small traders who aggregate to become huge.
Yeah.
And, that was one of the things that I saw with like Jumia that I thought was amazing. And I made a lot of money off Jumia because what I saw them move from was a centralized, we know everything model to like a very decentralized marketplace model. And they were always going to do extremely well on that decentralized marketplace model. And so I felt like, I feel like because we lack the infrastructure to build and a very strong government that can afford to build the infrastructure, we have no choice but to build from the bottom up.
Bottom up, yeah.
And if you think about what I call the most successful venture capital investment of all time, which is the mobile phone. The mobile phone is the epitome of a decentralized system, right? Because you have this mast, but they're all like 4,000 of 5,000, 10,000. I don't know how many towers. All of them, in a network collaborating to give all of us the ability to call each other, as opposed to what obtains maybe in the US or in the UK, where you have like a fiber ring, and you have a wired fixed lines all over the country that provide phone service to everybody. So that's just the way the future here has to work, because there's just no central authority. We're just so diverse and massive in our size that there's no other way.
So then, from a political angle, we have like 9 minutes, right? Yeah. So from a political angle, recently we've had like regulation that's come down on the cryptocurrencies and then on some of the wealth management funds. What are your thoughts on that, first of all?
Yeah.
And would you encourage founders to engage with the government a bit more?
Well, yeah. One thing I like to explain to founders is that Nigeria right now is a blank canvas. Whatever you think obtained pre-COVID is no longer the case. And the biggest actors in the Nigerian state know it well. So despite their braggadocio, they're all looking for new ways and new models. And, when you talk about the SEC issue and the wealth management issue and the crypto issue, there is a realization, even as the regulators are taking these actions, that they need to engage with the community and come to some sort of negotiated settlement. And I think the problem is not enough of us have thought about, okay, we're decentralized technology and maybe we can survive, but what can we do if we have the endorsement of the government?
Yeah.
And how can we imagine the world working there?
What does that distribution look like?
Because
most governments have more distribution than startup anyway.
Exactly. So, for the crypto guys, I think what it looks like is we're creating a digital coin for the Naira. What can that do, right?
Yeah.
If we have an official Naira. And I think it's a lot of my peers have to have the courage to imagine those possibilities before assuming that the government is just going to shut it down. Because government, what is government? Government is people, right?
Yeah.
It's like human beings. Me and you are co-government right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are enough people now in government, at least in my experience, and there are enough people asking questions in government, in my experience, that it's probably worth rethinking some of our assumptions about how to engage government and actually do the hard work of coming up with a plan.
Yeah.
Like, this is how we want to roll.
Yeah.
And obviously you're not doing that selfishly and saying, I get all the accolades or whatever.
Or credit.
You're doing it and saying, here's how government benefits, here's how the people benefit, And I think we'll get there.
So we just have to be creative enough to provide the solutions.
Just have to be creative and courageous enough to provide the solutions.
And so in terms of what has been your biggest challenge as a founder?
The biggest thing is always going to be leadership. Leadership is not as easy as it sounds,
Yeah.
Because
you don't go to school for it.
There's no school for it.
Yeah.
And leadership and management, you're always making decisions, and you're dealing with human beings, so they naturally have different objectives than you.
Interests.
And you're never going to be fully aligned, no matter how hard you want to believe that. And they're never always going to fully understand your intentions because people view situations from their point of view. So I think my biggest issue has always been, how do you lead, a group of diverse people in a way? And each time I try to do it a little bit differently, right? So before, at Andela, leading by example. I lived in the hostels with the fellows, and I led by example. That was my way of leading. At Flutterwave, I tried to be a great ambassador. I led by making sure the goodwill spread to the company from across the world, across our partners, and try to always find ways to resolve issues. But now in my position, leading means something completely different, both internally and externally. And I'm still figuring out what it means for this type of industry.
So then what advice do you usually give founders who, first they need to come up with a team, because the founder might have an idea or might have a product, but then building out that team, that stack, whether you're talking about CFO or even choosing who's going to be a co-founder, what advice do you have regarding that?
And I mean, I think the first thing is you really got to find good people. And sometimes you have to define good people very differently because there's no objective measure of talent.
Yeah.
That's one thing you learn very quickly in this world. Talent is very situational. Who the person is, what they're excited about, what they care about, who they are, and stuff like that. So I think the biggest thing is really like understand what you need. What do you need? Or be very objective. Like, I'm building this team. I need somebody who can do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I need somebody who can do Y, Y, Y. Be very clear. And then my advice is look for people who have those capabilities, but who are still, or make sure that everybody you bring on board is committed to the vision. Because that lack of commitment, in spite of skill, will cost you.
Down the road, regardless.
Cost you down the road, regardless.
Yeah.
But you always have to balance mission and competence, always, when you're picking your team.
So what happens if you have someone who aligns with the mission, but is not as talented? And then you have somebody who's as talented, but might not align with the mission 100% or even 80%.
The question is, is the person so down with the mission that they're willing to do what it takes to be talented?
Yeah.
If they are, then you got to invest in them.
Yeah.
And bring them up. Like, I'll tell you this, like, Adenike is probably one of the most mission-driven people on my team. She's principal at the fund.
Yeah.
Third-year university student at Unilag. She's definitely not an investor magnate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she's so mission-driven that she was willing to do, and she's willing to do. And we, as a company, are willing to invest in her to get her to whatever level she needs to be. And I'll tell you, in the next 3 to 5 years, there's no question that Adenike is going to be one of the most brilliant investors of our time, right? Because the way she sees companies, the way she sees things is very different, right? You can learn stuff.
Definitely. E, thank you again. I think we're almost 45 minutes, right? E, thanks so much for coming on, bro.
My pleasure, man.
We're going to have you on again. There's obviously way more conversations
to have. Yeah, but this is awesome, man.
For the initial guest for the Afropolitan podcast, there was no way we could do this without having you on. And you see how I kept on bugging you. Like,
I know, man. I know.
But E, thanks for coming on again to the Afropolitan podcast. Where can people get in touch with you?
So easy way, do Twitter at IABOYEJI. And then you can email. It sometimes gets tricky, but you can email.
A lot of emails.
It's a lot of emails. It's E, just the letter E at future.africa.
Yeah.
But just check out our website, future.africa. If you want to start investing in startups today, just click invest with us and we can make it work.
All right. Thank you.